want to know, I'm Alexis, aka the Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to tell you guys all about my least favorite books of 2018. Honestly, I feel like I didn't have that many books that I really disliked in the year, which I think is really good. But I feel like the books that I disliked quite a bit. I think I only gave one star this year, which obviously is going to be my least favorite book that I talk about. The other ones were either just DNFs for some reason or books that I just really didn't like. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So starting off with my 2 DNFs for the year, the first one I'm going to mention, unfortunately, is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I wanted to love this book so much. I think that I predicted I was going to give this book 5 stars. And I made it halfway through before I could not bring myself to read any more of this book. I'm the kind of reader who can't love a book just on its commentary, on like its message, what its intent is. I need more than that to love a book, and I felt like this book has a lot of great themes and a lot of great commentary. It's gothic, it's feminist, but I needed more than that from this book, and unfortunately the characters and the plot just didn't really do it for me. I made it halfway through this book and I was bored out of my mind. And then I finally just could not do it anymore, which breaks my heart because I really thought I was going to love this book, but I just didn't. Quite similarly is actually my second DNF I'm going to talk about, and that was Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant, aka Seanan McGuire. I thought I was going to love this book. This book was pitched as scary, like, open ocean adventure with killer mermaids. And like, yeah, I guess that's true, but it's only true for like, I don't know, 10% of the book. I read half of this thing. It was 500 and something pages, and again, I was bored out of my mind. It wasn't scary. The pacing in this book is so strange. There's like 2 moments of high tension in like 250 pages, and all of the rest is just pounds and pounds and pounds of character backstory and exposition. And I just feel like this book could have been so much shorter, and there's so many characters, and I don't feel any of them were very fleshed out. And again, this book has a lot of really good commentary on stuff, but I needed more from this book, and it didn't deliver for me. Moving on to the next one I'm going to mention is actually one I haven't talked about before because I actually just read it in December. Somehow I always manage to read least favorite books of the year in December, which is why I decided to film this video after December ended, because I knew this was going to happen. And unfortunately, that book is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. Wow, this book... Can you see the disappointment written on my face? This is a very well-loved book on BookTube, especially for it being a Christmas book. And I really loved the first 10%. Like, based on the first 10%, I thought I was going to give this book 5 stars. And then it just... I get that this book is like a look at A Christmas Carol and it's a retelling of A Christmas Carol, but I just feel like the main character shouldn't have had to go through everything she went through in this book to turn out to be a better person. If you read the book, you'll know what I mean. But like, I don't know, I feel like Holly should have been a better person after the first 10% of this book. And the fact that she wasn't, she continued to kind of be an awful person, just made me be like, you know... Do we really need to, like, keep working on this girl, man? I mean, really. I also thought it was incredibly predictable. I guessed the big plot twist, like, I don't know, 25% of the way through. There's literally a scene that tells you what the plot twist is, and you're like, oh, okay, well, cool. Why am I reading the rest of this book? And I did not like the romance at all. It basically was all built on a giant web of lies and manipulation, which I was not a fan of. So there's that. Yeah, I just didn't like this. This just ended up not working for me, so unfortunately it's going to make my list this year. The next one I'm going to mention is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. And this is on my list for 2 reasons. The first being that, honestly, I just found it really mediocre, to be honest. You know, I don't think it was like the worst book I read this year in the least, but I just found it really mediocre and forgettable. And in a year where I read so many of my favorite books of all time, I feel like I can't even pretend to put this book in those in the same category as those books, because it doesn't begin to compare. And for that reason, it's on my list. But in general, I also just really didn't enjoy this. Was not really a fan of the writing. Kind of just felt like this book could have been done a lot better. And yeah, just, you know what, it was really forgettable. I honestly forgot I read it until I was going through my Goodreads list, so there's that. The next one is one of the only physical ones I still have, because I do have a weird emotional attachment to my copy of this book. But it definitely is one of my least favorite books I read this year. I actually filmed an entire review on it, which I will link down below in case you want more of my thoughts. And it's another very well-loved book, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Again, I did film an entire review, which I'll link down below if you're interested. It's been a year since I read this, but honestly it comes down to the fact that this was very boring. I felt like it was just poorly explained, and I felt like the author used really poetic language to kind of just not actually explain anything. Described a lot of stuff, explained very little, and I just didn't like the romance. So, all of that being said, this just was not a book for me, and it's definitely going to be on this list. But I'm keeping this book because I have a weird, strange attachment to it, so whatever. The next book I'm going to mention is one you've definitely heard me talk about, because I feel like ever since I read this book and was so utterly disappointed by it, I haven't stopped letting everyone know how much I was disappointed by it. And that is obviously Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I thought, no questions asked, this book was going to get 5 stars for me, because it just always sounded like something that was right up my alley. Like, I don't know, alright. I think this book is poorly written, to be perfectly honest. Nothing is explained. Like, there are so many things I had genuine questions about, and then it was just like, whoa, just kidding, magic. And I was like, what? Okay, sure, fine. If that was the only problem I had with this book, whatever. My second problem is that I thought this was super boring. People were literally dying, and I was just like, meh. Like, alright, cool, can something fun and exciting happen now? So, there's that. The ending is so rushed and out of left field, and it happens in the, last 2 chapters of the book, and I'm beginning to realize that I don't like it when books don't have falling action, especially a first book in a series, because I just was left being like, really? All of that? For this? This poorly written? You know what? Alright. Second of all, don't get me started on the fact that there's really only, 4 female characters in the whole thing that have a name, and I think all of them at some point are sexually assaulted or threatened to be sexually assaulted. Also, they're all incredibly bland and flat characters, and they just none of them pass the Bechdel test. It's just a hot mess, and the way female characters are treated in this book is just... it's not good. I will, however, read the second one, because friends of mine who didn't enjoy the first one said that they did enjoy the second one. So I will give the second one a chance, but if I don't like Golden Sun, I'm definitely not reading Morningstar, and the way I felt about Red Rising means that Golden Sun is going to definitely have to step up its game, because I originally gave Red Rising 3 stars when I finished it, but I'm definitely reconsidering that, and I think I'm going to drop it to a 2, because I just don't think that I enjoyed a single thing about this book. And that takes us to my least favorite book of 2018, which honestly is my least favorite book for 2 reasons, and one of them is a much bigger problem than the actual book. But my least favorite book of 2018 was The Fever Code by James Dashner. So my first reason that I actually read all but the last 40 pages of this book, because I was actually reading this book when the allegations against James Dashner came out, and it made me so sick to my stomach that I couldn't finish the book, which was fine because I was hating it anyway. But it made me loathe every opinion I had about the series and that book in particular, and I just have no interest in supporting an author like that, so that's one reason why it's my least favorite book. The other reason was because I genuinely hated the book, which is saying something, because I loved the Maze Runner series when I read it 3-4 years ago. But I hated this book. This book was supposed to deliver all of the answers to previous questions that were left unanswered from the original series. Did not do that. I left that book with just as many questions as I left the original trilogy with, which means it didn't deliver what it was promised to. And second of all, honestly, it was 340 pages of children and teenagers being emotionally and physically tortured. And yeah, I'm sorry that I don't want to read that. No part of me wants to read that. You know, if it was just like in the beginning of the book, sure. If it was just like one part of the book, sure. But it was constant and it was over and over and over again. And I just didn't want to read it anymore. Not to mention that it made me dislike characters I had previously liked. Like, I'm serious. Like, I liked Thomas in the original trilogy, and this book made me hate him. So, all in all, I disliked every single thing about this book. I disliked the author. And all of that combined is why it's going to be my least favorite book that I read in 2018. It was somehow more of a dumpster fire than Red Rising was. Just saying something, because I felt like my entire experience with Red Rising was a trash fire. So, those are my least favorite books I read in 2018. The one video a year where I let myself get real sassy and spill some tea. Because I try to be nice the rest of the year, but you know what? One video, you guys like this negativity, so I'm serving it up to you. Anyway, come back here tomorrow to catch my favorite books of 2018 video, which will be a lot more positive and happy and fun, because I read a lot of really good books this year that I'm very excited to talk about and to recommend. I would absolutely love to know what was your least favorite book you read in 2018. Don't be afraid to spill the tea in the comments. I'm okay with that. If you like what I do, I normally upload 2 videos every week, and I'll see you guys soon with another one. Bye!